Hello, this is Dave, and welcome to Equity Story. And I'm not really in the White House, Wolf, but I'm feeling good here, sitting with where the great man Donald Trump was before. And
I tell you, it sounds like, here's a fraud sitting in the White House, you're a fraud sitting in the White House. There's a theme going on there, isn't there?
Yeah, I know, I don't, but it does. I think it suits me. I must be honest with you. I reckon I could fit in here with the White House. Anyway, Wolf, this is just general share advice and not personal advice. And welcome to Equity Story. And can I say, we've got a new little part of Equity Story, which I really like, because I've been talking to Wolf about doing this for ages, and eventually he succumbed to the pressure. And this is Wolf's weekly wrap. Now, what Wolf's weekly wrap is that every week we talk about a lot of stocks, and I know some of you are very, very busy that just want it wrapped up in one easy parcel. So nowadays, on Friday, you can click on Wolf's nice little weekly wrap, and he'll talk about some of the stocks that we looked at over the week, and and he'll have some maybe ones we talked about that are looking good, and it's got funny little sayings on them all, but I think it's very, very exciting, Wolfie. So maybe just talk to me a bit about how you summed up last week.
Yeah, well, first of all, my little topics that I picked, it covers certain different things. We're looking for dividend stocks. Is there a stock that really surged this week? This is what I want to have a look at. Sometimes we haven't looked at them, but it's for me to find those interesting bits of information for you to summarize it in a week. So anyway, we can start with the IGL group. Pretty much we're looking for a nice dividend story. So we looked at it last week. We looked at the bounce back. Looked at obviously the dividends. It looked good, so that made sort of the list as the dividend story. Then I looked at the FOMO YOLO, which is the fear of missing out. You only live once story. And there wasn't much from us when we looked at it last week. So I had to find something that stood out. And SMN was the stock that really, had a 60% almost upside on the back of nothing really. So I summarized the reason why. And then, time to pick profits on. And again, you remember, you guys are trending a lot of these stocks out there. But, the one that sort of caught my eye is the sort of the culmination of end of the takeover, which is IHR. So you probably don't be too greedy with that one if you're still in this. Hound free zone, of course, and I want to have a look at something fundamental that looked really good. And we look at what happened in a NASDAQ with potentially a bull market. So I thought NXT, especially Dave, with a chart that looks pretty good, and I'm actually quite glad you put it into your Einsteins.
Well, yeah, it wasn't totally hound free, was
it? Exactly, because it wasn't looking as good when I was looking at it, and then at the end of the day on Friday looked actually good enough for you. But the thing is with NXT, it's a story that's got that explosion maybe of AI. The AI data is going to be probably going to spur probably some growth of these NXTs and so on. So I thought let's get into that now. Obviously with the dog of the week was Mincore. When you're looking at stuff, what actually happened. So I quickly just talked about that. If you keep going down further, I'm calling it mulligan. This was quite an interesting one because I'm seeing that things that didn't work, right? Can we have that again? So that was a very frustrating one with AGI last week. Election in New South Wales. Thanks, New South Wales. You're very, very kind. Dropped the below trend line, sell. And the following week, we're back again. Please give us a break. So that's one of those, can we try again with AGI? And it looks good again. Then, what worked? IPG, we talked about it so many times. It was a great looking chart later last week. It's still going quite well. So looking pretty good. And best idea for next week, I thought Wesfarmers with its, huge, I suppose, business, conglomerate, diversified. It's got a buy signal, chart looked good. Everyone loves it. We love it. Look good. And then a couple of things at the end of the biggest news for the week. So that was the NASDAQ going into the technical bull market. And the last one was, what's this? It's basically commenting on anything. And I wanted to talk about lithium because last week also lithium was a big news. So, it's just a summary of what actually happens during the week. Just for you to have a look at what's maybe driving the market, what some good stories are out there, what are bad stories out there. It's just a combination of a few different themes.
Absolutely love it, Wolf. And I read through it, and I thought it was a great write-up. And I think you did really, really well. So thank you for that. Brilliant. All right, Wolfie. Just before we get going, what stories are happening? What's the story of the day?
Today, I think, it's a good question. Look, I think the story of the day is oil, to be honest. And looking at OPEC cutting output, which means oil prices going up, potentially spiking inflation again. So for me, what I picked for me, that was Woodside and VEA. We talked about it last week. Get into these stories because they look pretty good. And thank goodness for that, because this week with OPEC cutting the output, they look pretty good, Dave. They're back over the trend line, especially Woodside.
Yeah, definitely. Woodside, it's come down and found support and bounced absolutely beautifully, hasn't it? And possibly if you're not in it, there's still an opportunity to get in it. It's looking very, very good.
Yep.
And just have a look at Santos. It struggles, this story, Wolf. It's amazing, isn't it? It's such a good, not a bad company. Still struggling to get over trend at the moment.
Let's have a look at the others then. Let's have a look at VA, which has got that.
Yeah, VA looks good. It's up about 1% and doing exactly what it should do. So again, I mean, it's still, you can still buy that one. It still looks absolutely fine. And the other one, Wolf?
ALD. And Paul. So really, that's the four probably you'd be looking at if you're looking at this sector.
Yeah, and again, that doesn't look too bad.
Yeah. So good, great dividend story. So you've got that oil boost for your investments. You probably should be sitting quite comfortable with those stories.
Perfect. Well, thanks for that. Wolfie, what other stories did you want to?
All right. So let's quickly just through some of these announcements. So I've got ATA. Let's have a look at that. Is that?
Well, listen, it just needs to do a little bit more, doesn't it? But it's holding a fairly decent trend line. What was the announcement and what's happening there?
So they were just updating, what the business and what actually is going with acquisition and so on. So it's in that space where we've got DTL, we've got COS, your hot stock. So I'm just following the stories just to see how they perform, whether this sector or theme is still good. And yeah, for the moment, look, it's still trending. It's just bouncing off the trend line. So I don't mind this. One, maybe it's maybe not on the top of my list, probably because of the bottom, but there's only about 5 stocks in that sector for me. But it's still decent. It's still decent.
Okay, brilliant. Evolution had an announcement again and a nice chart. What's going on here, Wolf?
Yeah, so unfortunately with this one, probably you can sort of call it negative news because, well, negative positive news. Let's say, because the problem with EVN, they've got Ernest Henry in Queensland. We've had a lot of rain, we had flooding, a lot of the mines were flooded. Unfortunately, Ernest Henry was one of them. So they've just updated exactly what's going on here. So they've said they're going back to, pumping the water out, getting back that mine on track to reopen. The problem is they don't know how much it's going to cost them, right? So they still left the guidance open because they're not sure. I'm thinking, and I'm just giving a wild guess here, but it's going to be in tens of millions of dollars that's going to cost them. So unfortunately, 6 weeks is a long period of time for a company that needs to pretty much keep going its output, which means let's see what happens. But still, it's a trend, right? So you're pretty much trending it. Maybe the market's already priced this in because obviously we're trending below the trend line. So that's what I'm hoping for here.
All right, let's talk about Bio because this is a company that we never talk about. It's sort of been in a downtrend since it's listed. That announcement today really broke it above trend. Is that announcement, do you think it's good enough to hold it above trend or?
Well, look, David, it's an interesting story. I actually put it on my watch list so I can have a read about it. They do supplements, so probiotics supplements. And if you look at today's announcement, they're talking about its cash flows and a quarterly. It's looking like they're going to be on target for $7 million for the year. Now, I presume they didn't give any other details. I presume they are unprofitable at the moment, so it's going to be high risk. But from looking at a company, maybe there's a trend on somewhere along the line. It's definitely put on your watch list time to see because it's got cash flows. It's growing its revenues by 100%, right? That's decent. So it's something that we need to probably just have on the radar.
All right. Okay. On the radar, BIO, and again, good to see it jumping at the moment above trend. NWL, Net Wealth.
Yep.
It's been so boring, the stock, hasn't it, Wolf, for about a year and a half. It's still going to be boring for us.
Unfortunately, boring and sell because there's a downgrade today, right?
Right.
So downgrades, you get out. Unfortunately, you're probably thinking if you're going to be playing this space, you're probably playing Hub or PPS, not NWL. Are they in the same boat? A little bit probably, but you can see the performance. If you look at the Hub price, Dave, just put on Hub for me, just to see the comparison between the two. And I think you'll see a big difference in the share prices. Well, it's still holding trend, but it's definitely looked much better than NWL. But, this space at the moment may be a little bit of a struggle. But still, I prefer the Hubs right now and PPSs over NWL, but get out of NWL if you're in it.
Yeah, definitely. And Wolf, EOS, an old favorite, got a good contract from the war with Ukraine. But again, I know what you're going to say. It's their burn on the satellites is just still, you're not totally convinced this company's got treading the right path, are you?
Dave, do you remember me saying about the satellites? They're finally getting rid of it.
Oh, okay.
They are actually going to be offloading that division. Thank bloody Christ for that, because I talked about it that they say it was a major drag. So the question is it back? Not yet, David. It just had too many issues that you're probably still going to have to do a lot of write-downs and so on. And we just got to see it. It's been a problematic story for some time. We got to give it time, but at least they're moving the right direction.
And Wolfie, what sort of value would they sell their satellite system?
I don't know. I'll probably give it away for free.
That doesn't sound very good. I'm sure they must get. I mean, they've spent years and years to.
Yeah, but did you know how much money they pumped into it? Oh my God, it was like over $50 million or something. It was ridiculous. It's probably not. Look, with so much money being spent, probably a lot of debt on that as well. I don't know. Whether
it's really something for a bigger American company.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone who's got deep pockets.
Right. And DRE, Dreadnought, Wolf, it's fighting back. What are those?
I didn't see them, unfortunately, Dave, so I can't give you an opinion on that one. I just did not see those results.
Okay, well, have a look. Listen, it's not a buy anyway. It's below trend, and you wouldn't be having a look at it. Okay. But lastly, but not least, ANX, Wolf. They had a good week last week, and actually, you'd be looking at that. But what is this? Is this a FOMO LOMO, as you call it?
Yeah, I'm thinking a little bit is a FOMO YOLO, but they did not justify the jump last week. And I tell you why, because the first thing I look at is what price did they use to come up with all these figures, right? So the figures they come up with, $200 million valuation on this and all this nice stuff. But when I looked at what assumptions they used a copper price that's way above that current price. I mean, why? Why do you think the copper price will be like, $1,000 more in a year's time? It makes no sense, Dave. They're just hoping more than anything else. So unfortunately, it just put me off.
All right, fair play. But, nothing like being positive, Wolf. You can't.
I know. Look, they could be right, but what a risk, right? What a risk saying, the price is going to be much higher, so this project is going to work.
Yeah, it's to be honest with you, I'm not saying it's dishonest, but it's certainly bending the truth, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. 100%, Dave. I mean, can you imagine, forecasting something much higher and then it's coming up in your face and saying, no, it isn't? You're going to look like a complete dick.
Wolf, I just want to go just quickly today. We've put COS as the hot stock, a story that you like. It's trending absolutely beautifully. I had a good announcement, another contract win last week. I think there's a good chance this could go up and retest that $1 as long as Mr. Market behaves itself.
Yep.
It's like you said, how do you choose a hot stock? There was plenty of contenders.
I know.
Mad was in there as well, Wolf, which still looks good. And of course the IPG was there. But I mean, the reason we went for COS was simply Mad. IPG was hot stock 5 weeks ago. Mad was 7-8 weeks ago. And COS actually, interesting enough, we did put this on as a hot stock a long time ago. It never really did anything for us, but hopefully this time it will, Wolf.
I think it's just that there's a lesson for everyone here. It just could take 2 years. it goes up. But no, good. Dave, you chose the right story. Just unfortunately, the market said we just got to have to wait 2 years before it goes up.
Yeah, definitely the right story. It's never ever failed, but the market's never really embraced the story.
No.
But it's starting to now, and this is what you're looking for.
Exactly. Something that's exactly right. This is fundamentally, we could be right with the story, right? But the market might miss it for a long time. And I think DSE is one of those questions, and there's probably other stocks in there as well that finally they're going to wake up and go, oh my God, what a great story this is. And we've been sitting there for 2 years.
Yeah, and it can happen, and that's why the market is frustrating, and it can often embrace stories which are ridiculous, right? So
exactly.
And there's plenty of those around. On that note, Wolfie, listen, thank you very, very much. I feel good actually talking to you from the White House. I feel a little bit more. I'm
surprised you didn't call me names and stuff, like just like the previous predecessor.
Well, I'm just glad you've got a nice red Republican top on, so I'm very pleased about that.
Well,
has it got what's it got on the back? The real thing?
No, MAGA. Make great again.
All right, thanks, Wolf. See you, mate. Take care.
All right, cheers. Bye.
Bye.